Hi, my name's Una. You've probably seen some of my other 3D printing videos, but basically I've been asked by a colleague of mine whose son, about early 20s, might be interested in getting into 3D printing. And I was going to do a little video because I figured that's basically what our community is technology, and it's a nice easy way to convey the stuff that I've learnt. But if anybody else has any tips as to how someone can get into the hobby, or even people who've made a living from it, just all the different ideas, and then just leave some comments below and it might help someone get into it. The reason I got into it was I had some little remote control cars that were old and you couldn't buy the parts anymore, so I thought, right, I'm going to make some parts. And then I went down the rabbit hole of bought a 3D printer. My first one was a Creality Ender 5 Plus. If you get into 3D printing, you end up knowing all the names of these. And it was great. And then I've actually given that to a colleague of mine who is going to use it for creating anatomical models. But then I've got another printer which I've then upgraded to, which is this one in the background, which is actually printing at the moment. I would say that once you go down the rabbit hole of getting a printer, you end up getting a bit obsessed with it. It does take time to get used to the machine, and the technology has massively advanced in the last 10 years. I know that some people have been doing printing for years and then they're suddenly realizing, oh, I should have learnt to do this or what have you. I mean, I've been doing it for a few months and I feel like I've learnt a lot, and the majority of stuff that I've learnt has just been from YouTube videos and the Facebook communities. They're really helpful. There's also some not so helpful people, but ignore those people. Majority of people are just really sparky, enthused about the hobby, nerdy, and yeah, no, it's good fun. The thing is that if you were interested in 3D printing from a point of view of solving problems, I mean, you can literally, the world is your oyster. I think there's nothing better than the fact of actually when you put the printer on and you have an idea in your mind and you put it in the machine, a few hours later it's actually in your hand, and there's nothing that beats that satisfaction. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can do 3D printing just for, a lot of people print, I don't know, like dragons and things, which is fine. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that's cool. But there's a lot of people that use it to solve problems. They're using it to design whatever you want. I know there's loads of people who make tools. I was looking online, there are 3D printed coral reefs, there's 3D printed prosthetics, there's implants. They're using, I think, 3D printing now for dental stuff, like using bone grafts, just crazy stuff. And in terms of the medical side, they're using CT scans and MRI scans to then create 3D printed models that then the surgeon can test the implant on a model before they actually go to the patient. I know they've 3D printed hearts as well, so heart surgeons, you're kind of having to not wing it, but you're feeling it out whilst you're in there with the patient. But actually what they're doing now is they're 3D printing models of the patient's heart from MRI or CT scans or what have you, and then the surgeon is able to pick the correct, whether it's a synthetic valve or what have you, that works best for that particular patient, but actually from a 3D printed model. And they test the outflows and things like that. I mean, it's crazy in terms of medicine, it's crazy in terms of just technology. I was hearing that there's a space rocket that two ladies made that was 3D printed parts. So you can do anything. But in terms of, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, you can start off with a cheap printer. They are affordable now. You can get the Creality brand, which is what this is behind me. They are literally, there's thousands and thousands, millions of them out there, and they do the job well, but they require a lot of tinkering and fiddling. So if I kind of give you an idea, if someone that's never come across 3D printing before, in essence, all that it is plastics, different types of plastics that you can get. You can get harder, softer ones, flexible ones, but they are heated through a nozzle and then injected onto a bed. In fact, actually, if I just show you what this one's doing at the moment, it'll probably explain it better. So at the moment I'm printing here, this is a little cog, and it's made of ABS. That's why I've got the lid on, because ABS gives off some fumes. This is not a very exciting design, but it's going. But you can create anything. I mean, I've even got bits and bobs here, like this is part of my case for my camera here. I bought this, I didn't make this, but that's 3D printed. You know, SD card holder, 3D printed. Little tool holder, 3D printed. I've got the thing that I've, made for my workplace that's 3D printed, but there's loads of things. But yeah, if I bring this back around here, in essence, all it is that the plastic is being formed on the plate there. You use software that tells the machine how to do that, and you can make your own designs and then put them through the machine. Anyway, so the only thing is you can end up spending a lot of time figuring out how to use these cheaper printers. I mean, this is actually a very expensive printer if it was bought new. I got it secondhand. And, you can spend a lot of your life fiddling with it. There is actually newer printers that have come out now, just this last year or so, that just are breaking the boundaries of technology. They are pretty much, you can just press go, which is amazing. You don't have to fiddle with, here's your bed level, blah, blah, blah. It's just so much easier, and I'm definitely going to save up and get one. I mean, I'll give you an idea of, if you did want to just focus more on the design aspect and not spend so much time fiddling with the printer, then if I swing over, these are the ones that I'm talking about. Let's ping this over. So the Bambu Lab is the one at the moment that is really hot with a lot of the communities. This is kind of like their entry level. It was a Kickstarter campaign, and it has now just boomed. They're selling loads of them. From what I can see, really good customer service and things, very well built. So you can get their entry level, and the bit that makes this printer amazing is it uses lasers and things that actually read where the bed is and make sure that all the things that I've spent ages fiddling around with this printer over here is already done for you. It's like AI technology. It's crazy. So this is their entry level one. So you're looking at, £680, which actually is pretty reasonable considering if you go to the basis level printers. So if I go on to, this is Creality's website, and I go into the Ender series, which is their kind of just bog standard, get rid of all this rubbish. So you've got the Ender 3 is the kind of all-rounder. It's a fairly small printer, and it's the one that most people get. It can do a few little jobs and it gets you into printing. There's various different prices that you can get. If you were going to go and get one of these, I'd definitely get a touchscreen as opposed to this little dial thing here. The only thing is they're still not perfect, and actually if you look at their top model, look, 360 quid. Personally, I just go buy the Bambu Lab and be done with that, faffing of fiddling around, and the Bambu Lab will hold its value over an Ender for sure. Now this is the spanking hot one. If you really want to spend all your money, this is what I'm saving up for. So the up model that they have, you can print with different types of filaments. So filaments basically that require higher melting temperature, like ABS, nylon, those sorts of things. Whereas if you're just printing bog standard PLA, which is the standard filament for most printing, and it's made from like cornstarch or something, so I don't know how bad that is for the environment. I think it's probably actually not too bad. You can actually recycle your filaments if you want to, but yeah, so if you are really getting into it, maybe you'd want to upgrade to that down the line. But the thing is, even if you start off with this printer, you're probably going to want to get another one. It's addictive. But yeah, if you're going to go down it, I would get that printer. So moving away from the printer side of things, now the exciting bit of 3D printing is the designing. So if you want to make anything, you can do it. You can problem solve it. If you're savvy with technology, you can work a laptop, and you are okay with trying to just working your way through some YouTube videos and things, you could teach yourself. I've pinged up just a few searches of there are actually some 3D printing courses. I've looked around London, just because that's local, but it does seem that actually most universities offer 3D printing, so it must be now that that's a whole department that's becoming a norm. I guess because, you know, if you're making designs, then probably they have to send them to their 3D printing department to actually put them together. So it's definitely out there, and the future of it is just going to boom. It's going to be crazy. So I'll ping back to the laptop here and show you a few little things to look at. So you've got stuff like, to actually design your own designs, there's two kind of leading softwares that I'm aware of. I've spoken to a few different people in the community anyway. These are the sort of ones that ping up a lot. So SolidWorks, I've never used it, but basically you've got a whole tutorial. This guy apparently is very good, called Arian. Apparently he's really good. You could watch his videos and learn. You could probably download a free version of the software right now and just have a play and see if you like it. The other one that I've tried using is Fusion 360. This is just a video that I found someone making a Pokemon ball. You definitely need a bit of help of getting used to it. I haven't actually learned how to use this software yet. Luckily, my partner is very good at that sort of thing, so I leave that to them. But yeah, you can definitely figure it out with an online course, but you can also do university courses and things, or any sort of college course. They seem to be available. I mean, even these are, I found King's College London does a summer school course, 2 weeks in July. And it sounds like, what does it cover? Provide introduction to 3D printing, building a small 3D printer. So, I mean, it is good actually to know how the printer works, which is where I would say the benefit of getting one of those Creality Ender 3 printers is useful. In the same way, I've got this printer beside me and I've spent so many hours, so much time and money getting it to work. This is actually a notoriously difficult one to get to work, but it's beautiful when it works. I wouldn't recommend getting one of those. But yeah, you know, it will show you how to understand the machinery. And if you like that kind of thing, then great. But this one, it says, you know, you're going to be creating 3D and anatomical models such as the femur or the aorta. Cool. I mean, that's totally, you know, pushing my buttons. It might not be for you. And yeah, most of these, it sounds like they have a bunch of 3D printers in the room, and then they sit you down and talk to you all about it and let you have a go. There's another one, The Independent has an article on a 4-day course in London. And I don't know what, you've got some laptops there. I hope they've got some printers, but it talks about how to 3D printing, additive manufacturing. This is a phrase that keeps coming up. I don't even know what that is, but it's obviously this whole technological jargon. Maybe someone in the comments will be able to tell me what that means. But this one actually looks really nice in the amount of stuff they talk to you about. So all the theory. So Cura is the software that takes your model, slices it into layers, and then it tells the printer how to lay down those layers. So that's what that is. Preparing STL files. STL files are the files that the 3D printer reads, which the slicer, you know, works with. Flexible filament, dissolvable filament. I don't even know what that is. That sounds great. I think this is really interesting. Resin printing. So resin printing is a whole other avenue where actually rather than using the filament being printed on a plate, it does some weird thing where it lifts the print out of resin liquid. I don't know whether it does it with some sort of light. I don't know, but they tend to do that for like really fine miniature models and things. It's very delicate. It's not strong, but that's what that's used for. There you go. Limitations of resin printing. They'll probably talk about that. Supports. Yeah, I mean, this is all really good, this one, actually. Wood PLA filament. I haven't worked with that yet. Sounds great. Definitely would give you a good intro into it. But yeah, I mean, you can learn all this stuff yourself, but it would give you a taster. I mean, the only downside I would say is you could buy a printer for that amount and just have a play. But, each to their own. But yeah, otherwise, other cool stuff that you can do. I mean, I've actually got one of these. I haven't gotten round to using it that much yet, but a 3D scanner. So you can actually scan objects, be it a person, anything, and put that into your computer. This is what this video just shows. It's the standard model that comes with a kit, and you scan it just to test how well it's working. But yeah, I mean, I've scanned my face. Useful things for that actually was I scanned my partner's leg, and we're making orthotics, because they've got a leg injury. But yeah, loads of cool stuff that you can do with that. That was about, I think, £600-700, and that technology used to be way more than that, and it just every year they make another one that's better, easier, more accurate. So you've got that whole thing if you wanted to do that. I'm not really sure what the application would be in terms of making money from that. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't thought about that yet. I've got the toy, gonna play with it at some point. The other thing you've got is really simple. Tinkercad is a free web-based. You just log in and it's there, and you can make really basic designs on there. You just pull shapes over and have a go. Now they come out pretty arbitrary, but it's a good place to start, and then you can whack it in your 3D printer and have a go. But if you want to get those really lovely, I mean, people on these softwares, the SolidWorks and Autodesk Fusion 360 or whatever it's called, I mean, you can make engines and stuff. It's just crazy. But anyway, so that's that side of things. But I mean, in terms of, I was talking to a guy who I got in contact with, a prosthetic support for a cat that had leg deformities. My colleague will know whose cat this is. And I had a guy contact me from New York in America, United States, whatever. And he literally, within an hour, gave me a design that he'd made. And I think the beauty I found of that is that there are people out there who are so enthusiastic about it that they will help you. And, the fact that you can engage with people all the way across the world is just crazy. If you're into, you just want to be in your room and fiddle around on your laptop but still be in contact with people, then it's something that you can do. It's just great for that. I mean, this guy, I asked for his advice on how did he get into it, because he's an engineer, and he was saying, the way he got into it was he was working in a lab, and he was asking the guys, how do you use the CAD, which I remember doing CAD in like school was, you plug in your design into the laptop, and then this machine would like cut out a lathe. I mean, that was like 20 years ago. It's crazy how the technology has come on now. But the beauty of doing 3D printing, he put it quite nicely. He was like, you get autonomy. You are in control of your decisions and actions. You can make your own products. You can be your own boss. You can master your skill and hone it, and there's so many different avenues, and it gives you purpose as well. You know, if you're creating things that solve problems, whether it's for ecological problems or mechanical problems or even just fun stuff, you know, that just makes people laugh or happy, or, you know, anything. You know, I've made some little things for board games. Board games are a big thing now. You know, you can make anything with it. But yeah, I mean, there are courses available, but you might just want to just invest in a printer and have a go. And the amount that you spend on that, you'll probably figure it all out on your own if you know technology, and I think you'll have good fun. But yeah, that's what I think about it. If anybody else has any tips on how they got into it, or how they would recommend someone who maybe isn't really sure, you know, what to do with it or anything like that, then just pop some comments on and it might help someone. Cool.